Okay, this is about a 10-minute video. I just wanted to duplicate what it would look like if I were just gonna go. I had my trailer parked, and I wanted to go take the horse. Want to go take Erro out, on a ride. What would that look like? I got a little side door, and so I'm just shutting that side door, and that way he doesn't walk in, and then that side door opens up, and sometimes they'll try to sneak out that door. And this particular trailer doesn't have a big enough one for him to sneak out, so probably wouldn't go too well. Now I'm just being real soft with that lead rope right there, asking him to back up. I want him to feel that when I'm asking him to back up. And so he backed up really, really well. He's very respectful. See his nose turning around. It's okay. I don't mind him looking at things and checking things, but I really want him to stick with me. And so there he's sticking with me. You notice his nose followed my back, and now he's gonna follow me. And here I'm just looking. This is it right here. This is all from yesterday's video. So he puts his feet up, and he's like, "Whew, I don't know if I could do this." And I just said, "Hey, that's fine." It could have been the dog. You'll see some people walking around in the background and dogs and stuff. And all I'm telling him right here is don't worry about all that other stuff. And the way that we do that is just letting him find himself. And maybe we can hop on a call and I can explain that a little bit better. But he needs to be able to take care of himself. It's not my job to help him. It's not my job to make him calm. It's my responsibility to help him find his own magnificence, and that takes time, meaning patience. So I'm just softly asking him to come forward, and I'm just taking the time it takes for him to do that. And then you just see how nice and soft he steps up into that. So he had to take a few tries at it with his front feet, and then he backed off of it, and that was totally fine. There's no blaming, no shaming him that he needed to ask that question the way that he did. Anytime their feet are moving, it's usually asking that question of like, well, how do I do this feeling safe? And now we're just going to stand in here. I think it's maybe too hard to see with just the shadow of the video. Inside the trailer, it's pretty shadowed, but his head is moving around. He's trying to turn his head to the left, and I'm standing on his left. And he's obviously standing right by the right side of the trailer. So his head is turning to the left, and I'm just softly asking him to just keep his head straight. And this goes on, I think, for like a minute or so. What I'm really doing is I'm just letting him like find himself and to be calm in the process. See, they want to be calm. They don't want to be all worked up. They like being in the parasympathetic nervous system, that state of rest, relax, digest, just as much as we do. And so he's just finding himself, and as soon as he's gonna self-regulate and come down, then when he finds that emotional state of being, then I'm gonna ask him to move backwards. And so he kind of hops. You see that little hop coming out. That's it's pretty sloppy, but it's the best that he's got right here. And they're always going to give you their very best. They're never going to deceive. They're not trying. They have no ego, and so it just is what it is, and it always is right in the moment. And so he steps up really nicely. As soon as he steps out, I ask him to come back in, and I just want to see how much resistance is there. And if you could be feeling what I'm doing on the end of that lead rope, I mean, it's like the lightest pressure that I'm asking, meaning I'm just barely pulling on that lead rope, maybe a half a pound of pressure. I don't know. That's arbitrary. I don't know how much. I'm trying to do it as little as possible. I want to do as little as possible, and I want him to respond as quick as possible. And that just takes time in a relationship that you build. But everything I'm seeing right here, everything I'm feeling is really, really good. So here I'm asking him to come back out. So we're going to stand in there for a little bit, let him find himself. And then as soon as he does and he settles into it, he gets any nervousness out, then I ask him to step backwards. What he's learning is, when I calm down, when I self-regulate, then that's how I get out of this trailer, right? But here it's a paradox. Once you're calm and you've self-regulated, do you even care if you're in there or not? And the answer is no. And so it's just kind of this little hidden true principle. I find that true principles are hidden in paradoxes. And so, anyways, he's just standing here. I asked him to move backwards. You saw his hind end kind of came out into the sun a little bit. So he did move backwards. And he's just saying, I feel a little bit nervous right here because I might have to step out. And remember earlier in the video, he hopped out, like he had these 2 little hops. And so I'm just saying, hey, let's get to the edge, and why don't we find that? Why don't we calm down and get confident right here by the edge? And so he listened to me. When I asked him to not, he's okay. And so we're just sitting here, and I'm in there waiting for him to just find himself. And as soon as he finds it, I'm going to ask him to come out again. And he's going to come out when he can feel confident enough to come out. I'm not going to force him out. I want him to use his agency as much as possible. I want this to be his choice to come out, not my command. It's more like I'm suggesting, hey, you can come out if you want to. And if he's not moving his feet, then it's like, okay, well, keep finding yourself. And look at how nice and soft that back is. Now he slides those front feet. It's like those front elbows get locked. His front knees get locked, and then he just has to slide out because he can't. He gets stiff in those front legs coming out, and that's probably just a lot of. It's just most this trailering experience has probably been a pretty traumatic and scary thing, and so that's going to take a little bit to get him confident to coming out of there. And as soon as he comes back in and he finds himself, I ask him to step out. And then as soon as he steps out, I ask him to come back in. And I'm trying to do this as soft as possible. Meaning like a 3-year-old could stand in there with the lead rope and ask him to come in, and that's the same kind of softness that I have as like a little toddler, and he's listening to that and following that suggestion. So there I asked him to step up and then step out. What I'm trying to do is get his mind, and the way to the horse's mind is through his feet, and so you can tell what his mind is doing based on his feet and his muscles and everything else. So when he's real soft like that, his mind is going to be soft. But when those knees lock up and his feet lock up, his mind is locked up. So he's not going to do a lot of thinking, and you'll know that just based on what those feet are doing, what those muscles are doing. Now here's going to put his nose down. So I don't have what I really want him to do is I want him to take a step forward, and I want him to start rubbing his nose all over stuff. Remember those Fabrici? They each have their own, those little whiskers, got their own little blood supply to the brain, each one of them. And so I want him to rub those Fabrici and check things out and start getting curious. right? So his mind was locked up there a little bit. That's why that head went up so high, and now it came down there now. So you got to have enough. It's kind of, I don't know how I'd say that. You don't want too much slack. Like the rope's not sitting on the ground, but I got enough to where if he wants to bend down and sniff the trailer, I want that to happen. That's how he's going to get confident about it. So I wanted to just tie him up, check out the camera. So he's tied right there. He's going to just kind of hang out here for a moment, and then I ended up hitting stop, and so I'll pick up another video.